Okay, welcome back. Lesson 2. Your layer should look exactly like this, exactly like that. Rim shot layer. You hope you renamed it. Let's go ahead and duplicate our background layer, and let's check the visibility icons on everything except for the top background layer, and we're going to go ahead and rename that whole head. Very important to rename your layers. Whole head. And now let's extract our background. Now, I don't know what background you're working with. You decide which way you want to do it. It's up to you, just as long as you get a nice clean cutout. Go ahead and do that and come back and see me. Okay, hopefully you deleted your background. The first thing you want to do is go ahead and duplicate that layer again, and let's call this one half head. Go ahead and rename it again. It's important to rename your layers. Name it whatever you want, just as long as you rename it. It doesn't say layer 1, layer 2 copy, blah, 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 blah. All right, you have two layers here. Let's decheck the whole head. Might as well take him off. And we're going to drag him to the very top because we're going to use him last. And then highlight half head again. The next thing we want to do is probably let's mask out the top part of the face. Now earlier when we made the rim shot layer here, we used the pen tool with the ellipse shape to make that path. Now you can't see that path now, but it is there. If you open up your paths window, either use window paths, or if it's open, just go ahead and bring it out because it's kind of a pain to go back and forth. Set your windows up, your panels up the way you want to use them, and you select the path, work path area that you created using the shape tool. You'll see the both lines there, both paths. Go down and grab your path selection tool, kind of like we did before, and select the outside path, and then go ahead and right click it and make it a selection. There we go, something like that. And make sure you feather 0 pixels all the time with this tutorial, 0 pixels. We're going to use this path to make the mask on the half head layer that we're working on now. So go ahead and decheck the eyeball or the visibility icon on the rim shot layer and highlight your half head layer. And now that we have the half head layer selected, we can select to make a mask. Now when you click to select to make the mask, you'll notice that it's backwards. We want to delete the inside and then everything above, but right now it's deleting or hiding everything but what's within. So we can easily flip that mask by hitting Command I. Command I will flip that mask to the other side just like that. And notice when you bring your rim shot layer back in, that is the edge that we're going to use. So from this point we're going to use this mask and we're going to brush the rest of the head all the way up, just like this. Just make sure you have the mask selected with lines around it. Hit B for your brush. Your brush should be at 100% hard brush all the time. If you're wondering how to do that, you can right click within. You can also change the size. And I want you to brush with black. You can press X on your keyboard. We'll flip black foreground to background. Brush with black everything above that area right there. But I don't know when it happened, but it looks like my selection was deselected, so let's make sure I have that selected. We're going to go back to the path selection tool, and I'm going to right click the outside line and choose make selection. Make sure it's selected like that. And when I brush now on this layer with those selection, the selection selected and the selection inverted, it eliminates all of everything within. So brush that head out and come back and see me. Okay, I hate to say it, but I'm not perfect. I think I might have screwed some of you people up with this. So I backed up to where I was when we made the selection and then hit the mask tool and then inverted the mask. Command I to invert the mask. Well, there we go. Inverted the mask. It should look something like this. Now immediately, as soon as you hit your B, your brush tool, and put black in the front, again you can press X to flip foreground, background color, and you have a nice hard brush at 100%, and this always should be on normal unless I tell you to change it. You should be able to start brushing away the head. Don't invert the selection like I did a minute ago again, or I'm sorry, make the selection using the path selection tool like I did a minute ago just now. So sorry about that, guys. All right, you should have something like this now. If you click away on your paths panel, you can eliminate the actual path so you don't have to look at it, which is often handy. And always keep in mind, if you do make mistakes, like I did right in here, you can flip to the white side and maybe go with a smaller brush, and you can brush whatever you need back in. Now immediately you'll notice that there's a little white line right there where the path was. That's because when we have a path, it's the width of 1 pixel. Let's fix that right there. It's about the width of 1 pixel. So again, if you use the white, just like I did a minute ago, to brush back part of the skin, use the white right along that edge, and you may need to go in here. Please don't work way back like this. It's impossible. You've got to be up in there. All right, you can already see pixels on my face right there. It's pretty sad. So small camera. Oops. So small camera. So run along that edge with your white in front and a hard brush, and you'll eliminate that edge right there. Does that make sense? Come back and see me. Okay, you should have brushed that piece out there, and if you eyeball on and off your rim shot layer, you'll notice that it makes a nice, neat, clean line there. Let's mess with this rim shot layer and make it look really different, so it looks like an edge cut off your face, if that makes any sense. So the first thing we want to do is Command J it. Let's go ahead and copy it, and then let's make it a clipping mask. Okay, so we keep our original intact, and we have the clipping mask affecting the layer itself. Let's go ahead and hold down Command and click the icon layer itself. Now if your layers look really tiny like that, you might want to make them a little bit bigger. So I'm going to hold down Command and click, or Control if you're on a PC, and click that actual image icon itself. And I made a selection. Now let's expand this selection, because right now, again, like earlier, the path makes one pixel width. If we don't expand our selection, we might be leaving a little edge along the outside edge of the rim shot layer itself, if that makes any sense. We need to make our clipping layer mask a little bit wider, because the width of that line is a pixel. So there'll be a little change of the whatever we make the change of, it will show up, and we don't want that to happen. So anytime you make a selection, you can go up to the select window and change the selection in many different ways. Refine the edge, feather, a bunch of different things, but all we're going to do is expand. So go to Select, Modify, Expand. Bam, and let's expand it 2 pixels. And now let's fill it with some colors, that selection right there. So if we bring back forward our face, or the visibility icon on our face, and go over and click some colors over here on the foreground and background color. Once we click the color in the foreground color, it brings up the color panel, but we can bring the mouse over and choose a color from the face, and you can see it showing up right here. So I want you to choose a light skin tone, which I don't have very much of. Let's find one right here. There we go. And also flip to the background color, the X key. We'll flip back and forth, and choose the color again, and choose a dark skin tone. I'm even going to go over here and get a dark brown here. So we have, I don't really like the foreground color, I'm going to change it. X, click, find face, click, and then we got foreground, background color. And now we're going to fill that little selection on the Rimshot Copy clipping layer with a filter, and the filter is going to be Render Clouds. And we're going to do this again in a little bit too. I don't know if you noticed, but it made a little change there. We'll zoom in here. It went from that to that, that to that, that to that, that to that. So you can get an idea of the change right there. And also, we're going to add some other effects to it too, like a little Gaussian blur. But before we do that, let's burn and dodge it a little bit so it kind of matches the face right here. So highlight the clipping mask again. Zoom in, and we're going to use the burn and dodge tools. There's many different ways you can do this. You can make a separate layer and use a brush on black and things like that, but we're just going to use the burn and dodge tool at midtones. I don't know, about 30, 40%. You be the judge. I'm just going to brush in here on the lighter parts of my skin and change it so it looks like the lighter edge that's kind of below, if that makes any sense. Come back and see me. Okay, hopefully you're back. Just go around and flip back and forth between the burn tool and the dodge tool on midtones at about 30%-ish, and you decide where you want it. See how I burned it here, and I dodged it other places? A little bit darker right there. Like lighter right here, darker, there's lighter right here, and see the darker. And I'm choosing that because of what I see on the face right here, because it's got to kind of match if you want it to look real. Even right in here in the nose, see how it's lighter right there. All right, once you're done with that, let's go ahead and filter, blur, Gaussian blur. that layer, and you don't want to do it very much, because if you see, if you jack it up right like that, notice there's no change in what you started with, and it eliminates everything that you did. So if you keep it nice and low for just this one, Gaussian blur really high is good for some things, but not so much for others. I can't really see a change right there. All you're doing is mixing the black or the darker areas with the white. You're trying to make a nice transition there. Like for instance, see before, after. I don't know if you can see. Let's zoom in a little bit more. See right there along the nose, see how it's dark right in here and it's light right in here. And before, after, before. See, there's a little bit of change. I'm going to go down lower. Maybe like 1.5 and click OK. Try 1.5. How's that? All right, zoom back, and we've messed with that a little bit. Let's go ahead and highlight the rimshot layer itself, and we can go ahead and deselect because we're done selecting right now. And let's give it a little bit of outer glow or some layer effects of some kind. If you double click on the layer itself, not the icon, but the layer itself, brings up the blending style or the layer style. And let's give it some, let's see what some inner glow does. Let's zoom in just a little bit. We want to make a little bit of an edge there. And I take that back. Let's try just a simple drop shadow. And we're going to bring it down to soft light. Yeah, drop shadow, highlight the word, soft light, lower some opacity, and make the size, I don't know, 6, 5. The tutorial step follow along says 5. As you know, I like to do things a little bit different. I'm just going to give it a little bit of drop shadow so it looks like it's an edge that comes off the face. You're trying to make it look real. That's the whole goal. And let's click OK on that. Zoom back. We'll come back to the rimshot layer when we move ahead. But now you can see your layer panel should look exactly like this right now, okay? Visibility icons off on the background layer and the whole head, and you have these 3 layers right here. Let's go ahead and fill in the middle. Now to fill in the middle, we need to select the middle, and with the rimshot layer selected, considering it's just the circle, if we use our wand, we can select just inside that area, but look at the area that it's not selecting, so that's probably not going to work. Let's take off sample off layers and deselect and try it one more time. Now when we select with sample all layers off right here, we select right to that edge. Now again, we need to expand the selection because that's 1 pixel width. So if you don't expand it, you're going to see a white line there. You don't want to do that. Not good. And now let's make a brand new layer and drag it below everything. Below everything. Let me bring that icon back on. So now we have a brand new layer below everything right there. And we're going to call this fill middle. If I can spell right. Bam. And now let's fill it with those clouds we filled with earlier. So filter, render, clouds, and make sure you have the layer selected. And there it is. We can deselect, and now it's behind the edge. Now look how cool that looks. It's starting to look real. Now let's double click that layer and bring up the layer style. We're going to give it some, let's see, inner shadow. And we're going to change that to soft light again. And let's bring the distance up and down and bring that edge about a little bit ways down. I don't know, about 30. And then bring the size up. See how it's softened? The size always softens it. We want that back edge to look dark. Something like that. I don't know if you can see the difference before, after. And now let's also give it some gradient overlay. We're going to select the word gradient overlay and change the blend mode to multiply. And it's way too heavy, so we need to bring down the opacity. Way too heavy there. Opacity down. And you can mess with the scale and see what it does there. See, it's kind of like the size, it softens. You decide how you want it to look. I don't really like that much. I'm going to bring it down more. There we go. Before, after, not even seeing it really. There we go. We want it to look like a black hole, just like that. So do those 2 layer effects, inner shadow, gradient overlay, and pause, get to where we need to be. I'll see you in the next video.